Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ahlan salim wa bikum. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters, for showing up today, and those who show up in the future. I'm using StreamYard for the first time, and so I will develop, I hope, inshallah, to develop this much better. And like I say, when it gets down to computer, I'm a dunce, essentially. And I hope that I'm probably going to make some mistakes. Today's topic, my dear brothers, is to be a Muslim. This is a very wide topic. And it's a difficult topic because the Muslims today are all over the place as far as their faith and what they believe about themselves. And this is a very, very troubling epithet today in the Muslim world. So hopefully today I'll give some guidance on that, and we'll all learn something today from it, bi'ithnillah. And you know, subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best of all things, and he knows what's in the heart of each believer. And so we're not here to judge anybody and what they're doing and what they're not doing. All we're going to do today is just cover some things about just being a Muslim and what that entails, and then we'll go from there. I'm broadcasting basically from the beautiful city of Fez, Morocco. And you know, I'm gonna tell you something. Morocco is a very beautiful place. I'm gonna do something about this. I'm gonna show you something, how beautiful Morocco is. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And here we have in the southern part of Morocco, and this is a beautiful town. And in Morocco, it's gifted with many different climates and different terrain, rivers, mountains, valleys. It is absolutely gorgeous here, and the climate is ideal. So that was just a glimpse of how it is in Morocco, and when you come to Morocco and so forth. And the people here are something else, and they range in color from white to black. Like my dear brother here, I will show you. You know, he's Moroccan, and he's from the desert, and he's Amazigh. See, so you know, this is something that you know, what is very interesting about Morocco is that there's no one set color, not like Russia or something like this. Here, the people range from all the way, again, from white to coal black color, like our dear brother here. And so with that said, my dear brother and sisters, we'll get started on this. The Muslim is characterized by the kalima. The kalima in Islam is the shahadatain, which is very important for each Muslim, and we must maintain that because the kalima is the most important article that we must say, and we must do, and we must live in order to maintain it. And there's a whole, I think I gave a class on this some time back about the shahadatain and all the conditions to it. There's many conditions. I believe there's 7 conditions to it. And each one of these conditions must be fulfilled by each one of us. And unfortunately, this is going by the wayside by many Muslims today. And so, you know, when we look at this, Assalamu alaikum, my dear brother Saeed. When we look at this, the kalima is very, very difficult in today's time to fulfill, because we have many Muslims living in the West, and how can they fulfill the kalima? The kalima is the shahadatain. How they can fulfill this? This is something that many of the brothers are having a hard time doing. And so with that said, there is the hadith of Omar radiallahu anhu, who talked about the kalima, and he talks about the here, and I'm going to post this in Arabic language here, and here Omar was talking about what we see, that Islam is more than the word. It's iman in action. This is where we have the problem today between the Muslims. The Muslims, he has difficulty today. He has the words of the Muslim, but the action and his faith are not keeping up with his word. And it's not that he's necessarily a hypocrite, but he has a problem in this area. And so that's why I'm covering this today, only to get us to think, only to bring us back to the right path. Because all of us, the faith, as you know, our Prophet ﷺ talked about, our faith goes up and down. And so this is something that the Muslims are having, again, difficult time with. And each one of us have to look at each other, and we have to look at ourselves and say, okay, are we following the right path to be a Muslim? And so this is why I decided to do this topic. I have before me a famous treatise that was written. It's too long for me to post it up here in Arabic, and I had it translated in English. And here he talks about this issue about the Muslim and what this entails. And basically, our dear Sheikh in the past, Rahimahullah, who's passed on now almost 200 years, he said that the Muslim is a person who accepts Islam as his or her way of life. This is where I was talking about before, my brothers and sisters, about how we as Muslims have a hard time, because we say we are accepting Islam, but yet and still, is it our way of life? And it's very difficult when you live in Compton, California, or Los Angeles, California, Long Beach, or Dallas, Texas, to fulfill this obligation to accept Islam and as part of your way of life, because while you live in a disbelieving country, it's very difficult. He goes on to say that literally, in the broadcast sense, the term means one who submits to God. Well, all of us, all Muslims, are not mushrikeen. I mean, let's face it. Most of us understand there's subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we believe in that. There's even the weakest of all Muslims still believe this edict, that subhanahu wa ta'ala is one and only. He does not believe as the Christians do, and some of our brother, the Jews do. He doesn't believe this. He believes that subhanahu wa ta'ala is one and only. And he goes on to say that more commonly the term describes any person who accepts the creed and the teachings of Islam. Again, the Muslim is a person, as he says here, who accepts the creed, the Iman, and then the teachings of Islam. This is where we have, again, a problem with the Muslims today, my dear brother and sisters. The brothers and sisters are not accepting the teachings of Islam. They accept what they want and they discard the other part. And we're not going to get into the nawaqid of Islam, which is 10 today, because here we're just covering the basic thing about the Muslims to bring us back and to think, each one of us to think about our position in our lives as a Muslim. Then he goes on to say that our enemies will try to confuse the young Muslim and the Muslim alike by calling us Mohammedan. And they say that we're worshiping Muhammad, alayhi salatu salam, nabiyana, alayhi salatu salam. And this is not true. He said this is offensive misnomer, and it violates the Muslims' most basic understanding of their creed as Muslims. You know, this don't happen as much, but now and then you see in print, especially in Europe, some racist, the Islamic phobic writer will put down that the Muslims are Mohammedans, and he will use the term from way back that disbelievers use to trump us. And so here, our dear Sheikh is saying that this is derogatory, which it is. Every Muslim should be offended if he's called Mohammedan, because they're trying to say that we're worshiping like the Christians do. We're worshiping Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, then we have this other, the Trinity, and then we have subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then we have the Holy Ghost. And they're trying to lump us in this situation by calling us Mohammedan, which is not true. And then he says that, here he goes on to say that that the Muslims do not worship Muhammad, alayhi salatu wasalam, nor do they view him as the founder of the religion. Now, this is an interesting point. Many Muslims today don't understand that. They think that Islam was founded by our Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. It's not the case. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's subhanahu wa ta'ala's religion. He gave the prophethood to our Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. But many Muslims today they have forgotten that, and they think that Islam was created by our Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. Our dear Sheikh here is correcting those who believe this way, who have forgotten, and it happens because you live in the West, and even in Muslim states, we have Muslims who have forgotten this fact. They think that Prophet ﷺ created it, and it's not true. And so this is something that we have to, we should look at this and ask ourselves a question about this. What are we believing today? By our Prophet ﷺ. Have we forgotten that this is the religion of subhanahu wa ta'ala, or do we believe it's the religion of our Prophet ﷺ? This is something that we should ponder, because we have people confused in this regard. And our dear Sheikh has cleared this up. Then he goes on to talk about the disbelievers again by saying that they use the word Muslim. Muslim is also incorrect, which is true. When you hear people describe us as Muslims, Muslim is incorrect. It is a corruption of the word Muslim. The correct word for us to talk as Muslims, as I said now, Muslim, not Muslim, or I forgot some other derogatory, it's Muslim. We must say that correctly. Each one of us, when we talk to disbelievers, we should not misuse this word and also butcher the meaning of it. We don't call ourselves Muslims. We are Muslims. It's a big difference. And the Sheikh here is clearing it up by telling us to clean up the word, because it's a misnomer, and it's also a corruption. And remember, subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like the corruption of his words, especially in the Quran. He doesn't like that. He condemns the Muslims who do this. So the dear Sheikh goes on to say that the Muslim is one who believes in Allah, his Prophet, his books, and the day of resurrection, recites the kalima. Remember, we talked about the kalima, the shahadatain, and accepts the commandments of subhanahu wa ta'ala, his Prophet, and as the truth. Most Muslims don't have a problem as far as some of this we talk about here, that they believe in subhanahu wa ta'ala, his prophets, his books. This is where the problem is with today's Muslim. They say they believe in subhanahu wa ta'ala, they say that they believe in his prophets, but yet and still they don't think of it in this regard, and they have problems with his books, because many Muslims today don't read the Quran anymore. They've done with it, except during Ramadan, and some don't even read it during Ramadan. And so they said they accept that, but then on the same token, they don't read the Quran. And then the dear Sheikh says the day of resurrection. Many Muslims today, modern Muslims in particular, are questioning this fact. I've heard this being said to me even here in Morocco. I've had Muslims who are wayward say to me that they believe that they would be born and they will die, and that's all. They don't even believe in the resurrection. Since they don't believe this, they're not Muslims anymore. But we have Muslims who believe this way, and it's wrong. And how we change this is individually, because none of us can go to another person and correct them on how they believe. We just cannot. That's not our job to do that. Now, inside our households, if we see our sons and daughters are old enough now, if you have the right to correct them. That's in your household, you correct them. Or you have dear friends and you're close to them, you correct them. But it's important. Recites the kalima. Now, we have many Muslims today have not even recited the kalima in a long time. You know why? Because they don't even pray anymore. This is why I say today we have problems as Muslim. To be a Muslim, they think it's only the kalam, only saying that they're Muslim, and then the actions of it is they don't need to do this. They really believe this. And they don't understand that this is not the case, my dear brothers and sisters. And of course, accepting the commandments of Allah and his Prophet. again, we have problems. How many of us accept the Sharia of Allah? We don't. We'll accept democratic ways and means. We'll accept other things, but when it gets down to the Sharia, we only take what we want and we discard the others. And the Sharia of our Prophet, alayhi salatu salam, the same thing. We take some of it and we discard the other. This is not being a good Muslim. The Muslim accepts what is decreed by subhanahu wa ta'ala. He accepts his books. He accepts his Sharia. Even if you don't understand a certain ruling, you must accept it. There's no bargain basement, I don't like this ruling here, so I won't accept it. You cannot do that, my brothers and sisters. You must accept this ruling. So now, as we go through this, we look at this, and the dear Sheikh, he got a lot here talking about this issue. But I'm not going to go deeper into this. We got the basic, what the dear Sheikh has said, because he wrote this treatise, and he was trying to correct, this is before he died, he was trying to correct the Muslims and how they're thinking today. And this is 200 years ago. So you see, that problem was even then. He was trying to correct our Muslim brothers, ancestors, in their creed and how they believe. And the other thing that I have to mention too, to be a Muslim, is today we have, even within our camp, we have those who will look at a person like me and they'll say, well, since I dress this way and I don't dress in an Armani suit, that I'm an extremist. Or they'll say that I'm worshiping, Wahhabi, I hate this, that I'm worshiping him. Or I'm a Salaf and I'm an extremist. And this type of thing, we have to be very careful, my brothers and sisters, when we label each other this way, because the Muslim is not worshiping any prophet. I mean, he's not worshiping no prophet. He's not worshiping any scholar. If he is, he's wayward. He's a mushrik. Okay, we follow the scholars and we read their books and we understand. But the sunnah is what? The Prophet ﷺ said, you follow the 3 favorite generations. This is the sunnah. If you remember what he said in Hadith, he said, after me, you follow the 3 favorite generations, because they were on his sunnah, the best of us. And we learn from them. And then we learn from the scholars. And then we learn from the students of knowledge. This is to be a Muslim. So when we say we're Muslim, we must say, okay, and we must act. Say the words, but we act. This is important, our brothers and sisters. This is very, very important. Now, there's some things here that Muslims we have a hard time with. And I'm going to give you this in Arabic here again. The Muslim alladhi yujahidu and yamtuliku ala 77 sabaruna safat iman. Okay, in English, what this means. In English, this means the Muslim strives to possess the 77 traits of faith. We have problems today to be Muslim. Again, he wants to say the words, but remember, I had a class on these 77 traits. In order for you to be classified as that in the right way, going to Jannah, you must possess the 77 traits. I went through it. It's easy now. They're on Google. You can follow, you can look at it. And many of us don't even have 5 of these. Many of us don't even have 3. We have some that have 20 maybe. And it's very difficult for all of us to have the 77. But you should make the effort to try this, because this is what we believe. And this is what we should, because this is our faith, to understand what our Prophet, ﷺ, he gave these 77 traits. And when you follow these traits here, you're on your way, my brothers and sisters. You're on your way. You're a very good Muslim. You are now movement if you follow these 77 traits. But today, many Muslims don't even know about the 77 traits. They don't even know. They don't care either. They say, well, look, hey, why are you talking to me, man? I gave my shahadatain. I talk, I use alhamdulillah, and that's all I need to do. So we have to fight this, and we have to go deeper into this, because this is our faith. It's more than just the kalam, as I said earlier. Now, the other portion of this is that the Muslim has a problem in this regard as well. The Muslim loves for the sake of Allah and hates for the sake of Allah. To be Muslim, you must do this, my brothers and sisters. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is demanding this of you. Our Prophet ﷺ is the madness of you. We must love for the sake of Allah. We must love our brothers and our sisters. Fi sabili Allah Ta'ala. And we must hate for the sake of Allah. Hating not meaning that you go, we're not talking about, again, disbelievers and we mistreat them or we hurt them in many ways. No, but we don't like the ways of them. And we must understand that. And this is called the walaha wa braha. This is another deeper subject, which I gave a class already on this. But the Muslims, to be Muslim, you must love for the sake of Allah. And you must hate for the sake of Allah. This is important. Because any of us who don't do this, and any of us who have switched this around, which we have this today, many Muslims say Muslim, but they hate for the sake of Allah their brothers, and then they love for the sake of Allah the disbelievers. They prefer them. They prefer to be around them. They prefer to have company with them. They are more in kin to them than they are with the believers. And here, this should be corrected. We need to reverse that. The Muslim loves for the sake of Allah and hates for the sake of Allah. This is important. And again, loves who? The Muslim Ummah, his brother, his sister. And he dislikes the ways of the disbeliever, meaning not to hurt them. That just means that gives you a license here to hurt them and to lie to them and mistreat them. Because why we say that? We have mothers and fathers and not Muslims. We have brothers and sisters who are not Muslims. Do we mistreat them? No, we don't. We have a prohibition of that, especially our parents. You see what I mean? So there's wisdom behind this. Is we don't like their ways, so we try to bring them. But that doesn't mean that we mistreat mom and dad, moms and pops. We don't do, or our sisters and brothers. That's not what we mean by here. But anyway, this is a problem that a lot of us have today, and we have to correct that. And speaking of that, the Muslims who have the Muslim who does this have a perfected his faith. This is what this hadith is Hassan. But this hadith tells you, if you love for the sake of Allah and you hate for the sake of Allah, it says the Muslim who does this will have perfected his faith. And this hadith is Hassan. So it's important, my brothers and sisters, again, to love for the sake of Allah and to hate for the sake of Allah, because this is part of our iman, that we must do this and we must carry on this way. Now, I'm going to give you some other factors here about the Muslims and whatnot. And here's one of them here that we have a problem with. First, I'm going to give you this because I have Moroccan brothers and sisters who may be watching this, because I've got some chidness from some of them who say that you're not giving enough Arabic. And so here we have about the Muslim who follows the Sharia and the Sharia of our Prophet ﷺ. And so here the Muslim should do this. And again, my brothers and sisters, we have problems in this area as specified. The Muslim يتبعون Sharia Allah Ta'ala wa Sharia Nabiyana alayhi salatu salam. And so again, this is translated meaning the Muslim follows the Sharia of Allah and the Sharia of our Prophet, peace be upon him. This is an area, my brothers and sisters, that we have deep problems in, and we have to correct that in order to be a Muslim. Now, we don't talk about a movement, a Muslim. In order to perfect that, we must have this in us. Even if you live in Compton, even if you live in Baltimore, Maryland, you must have the Sharia in your heart to try to follow it as much as you can of our Prophet as well. To do it is the best of your ability. When it conflicts, you know the ruling. When it conflicts with that of the land, of the laws of the land where you are in the United States or in France or Britain, then you must migrate to the land of belief. Dola Quran or Dola Iman is what we call this in Arabic. So this is important, my brothers and sisters. Again, I'm not chiding anybody. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm giving you only what it is to be a Muslim and what is the Sheikh Islam's, what they have said about this, and how do we perfect our religion, how we perfect our faith, and how we strengthen ourselves as Muslims. So this here, he's talking about that. and the Muslim follows the Sharia of Allah and the Sharia of our Prophet. He does. Bottom line, over. There's no questions about that. And this is why it's important that we do this. And so we go on from here, and again, we look at this, and here I wrote some in Arabic here, but I wrote the translation as well. The Muslim word, his words as a Muslim, and actions and works as a Muslim. This is important, my brothers and sisters, because we say our kalam, our words, and we don't back it up with our actions. I gave an example of that. I've seen this many times where I've been around people where they utter the names, 99 names of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala superbly. Okay? I mean, every other word they have they've made put one of the names, sometimes 10 of the names of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in their verbiage. But I said before, when you walk away from him, you see the brother, he doesn't even pray in the masjid. He doesn't even pray at all. So you have the conflict. You see what I mean? So this is why, again, we have problems today as Muslims. We have Muslims who speak beautifully. I mean, every other word, they have one of the 99 names of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, but their actions are not that. All of us are weak. All of us make sins every single day. And again, we must try hard and strive to do the best we can to be a Muslim. To be a Muslim. This is what our goal is to be a Muslim, and a good Muslim that will lead us to to Jannah, inshallah ta'ala, bi'ithnillah. And now we'll go into, I'm moving pretty quickly here. You know, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in his wisdom has made it to where he wants us to have affinity for one another. But in his book, he also wants to make sure that we don't fall short. And he's got two surahs in particular that's very, very interesting. And when you read it, it gives you good guidance, and it gives you analogies, and you can guide yourself measure yourself on that. The first surah is Surah 23, which is the believers in English, Al-Mu'minun in Arabic. And this is interesting because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has made sure that we take our how can you say, our faith and take it correctly. Because why? In life, if we don't do this, if we don't follow these things, we hurt ourselves. And the Muslim adheres to the Surah 23, namely the first 11 hayas in it. Okay, and I also wrote this in Arabic, the Muslim Yafiru Muslim Surah 23. And here I also talk about the heights of the 11. And if you read 23, it's very important that the Muslim understands what he's reading in the book, because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is giving you, if you are a believer, he's giving you what this is. Like this, which was one of my favorite. This haya is the first one. Qad aflaha al-mu'minun. This is, I always have this deep feeling for this one particular verse. It's beautiful. Qad aflaha al-mu'minun. This is in the 23rd surah. This is the believers, and Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is blessing us with about the victory. If you know the history about this, how this surah was sent down, I won't get into that. That's a different class. That's in the tafsir. We won't get into that. But this gives hope for the Muslims to understand. And the second one, those who humble themselves in prayer. This is a Muslim who humble themselves. Again, brothers and sisters, how can any of us be Muslim when we don't pray? So how are we being humble if we don't pray? And Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, those who humble themselves in prayers. See, this is again the paradox that we have as Muslims today. We have this paradox, and it's a deep-seated paradox within us. And then he goes on to say, who avoid vain talk, arrogance, bad language, and so forth and so on. Subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this. He says this is not good. Who act in deeds of charity. It's not easy when you live in the United States today with the growing prices of gasoline and food and everything. Sometimes it's very difficult to give charity. And then the way the draconian laws are in the United States, if you give charity to the wrong one, they classify you as aiding a terrorist organization. So many Muslims today are scared to give money because they're afraid this money that was given will be classified as a terrorist offering, and it's not the case. But I understand those living in the West, because we've had organizations have been taken to court, federal court, and some have went to jail. Some Islamic groups, and that the federal government there said that they were involved with the Palestinians and so on and so on. I won't have to get into that. But number 5, he says, who abstains from sex. My brothers and sisters, this is a Muslim. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the first 11 conditions. I'm just going to read some of them and I'm going to stop. He said, who abstains from sex, meaning not with your wife. We're not talking about that, my brothers and sisters. We're talking about illegal sexual relations. Now, this is prevalent today among the Muslims in the United States, in Europe in particular, but it's creeping up in the Muslim states as well. And the brothers and sisters who are saying that they're Muslims are now being caught up into this particular thing. They're having boyfriends and they're having sexual relations even before the marriage. And some are married and having relations, but they have side pieces here and there. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala says you cannot be a deep believer, a mu'min, a believer, if you are out doing this. And then he clarifies this by saying, number 6, except those who join to them in marriage bond. There it is there, in marriage. You can, as you heard my class would talk about, if you're married, my brothers and sisters, there's no limits. Meaning that if you and your wife want to engage 7 days a week, you can. There's no prohibition on that, because Subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained this union and for that in order to satisfy one another. When one of the group violates this principle, it basically destroys the marriage, and the marriage becomes part of evil. And this is what we have to avoid. And we have this problem today, my brothers and sisters. We have either the Muslim man, he's a strong Muslim, but his wife has become weak. Or we have many women who are very, very strong, but their husbands are weak. As you heard me get on the brothers many times, and I hate this. And it's happening everywhere around the world in the Muslim Ummah today. We have strong sisters, and they got to go pull up their husbands out of bed to make Salat al-Fajr, when he should be the first one up in the morning, as I told you before, getting things ready for the Salat, for everybody to be ready in the wintertime and make their water warm, for everybody to make their wudu, and warm drinks for their family, like we have in my house. I get up, and wife can attest to that. I make the drinks for us, herbal drinks and so forth and so on, to warm us up, because this is my job. I get up to make sure everything is ready inside the house, and whatnot and so on. So here, Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the captive whom their right hands possess. Remember, I covered this last week. Here, Subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the captive. Remember, we were talking about in wartime. In wartime, the brothers go to fight, and they rout the enemy. And in their town is children and women. The Islamic rules, we do not leave the woman in the city to fend for themselves. They cannot, because they'll be subject to bandits and to other criminals, and those criminals will take advantage of them, and they'll hold them into sex trafficking, or they'll traffic them, they'll make them into things that I don't want to say here. But the Muslims believe we get the woman, and she comes under my care. I'm responsible. She comes under my care for feeding her, clothing her, and so forth and so on. If she agrees to relations with me, she can have relations with me. This is not regarded as fornication. This is not, or adultery is not. And she agrees. And the children that we have from this union is recognized. It's a big difference. It's the nirma of Subhanahu wa ta'ala in this. And then he said they are free of blame. Again, he's saying the women in this situation, the man is free of blame if she consents. But if she doesn't consent, you cannot force that. So we have to be very careful of that, my brothers and sisters. Be very, very careful of this thing here, because we see Mujahideen groups today, and it's confusing. They go to a city, especially, like it was happening in Nigeria, and there's some other places too in the world. And they'll go to a town, and here are Muslims, and they go there to fight the Muslims, and they go defeat the Muslims, and they take their Muslim sisters as handmaidens. And then, they abuse the situation. This is wrong. But I just give you only that particular thing, and that's it. Okay, I'll read one more. Then he says here, number 7, subhanahu wa ta'ala says, but those who desire exceed those limits are transgressors. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has a hudud of law. We have to follow that. And we should not exceed those limits, meaning we should not kill, we should not rob and steal, we should not fornicate, we should give charity, and so forth and so on. This is what subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about. So this is a movement. If he is this, if he's a Muslim, he follows these 11 to the T. He makes sure that he's strong in this, and that he adheres to this, because it's important that he keeps this banner. Now, the other one that is very, very difficult, and many people don't like this particular surah, because why? They're involved in it. And this is the surah here. Where are you at here? Surah 24. Where are we at? 23. Where's Surah 24? Okay, Surah 24. I thought I wrote it down in here, but I think I didn't do it. Surah 24. We have the first three. The first 3 verses are very telling and very harsh. And subhanahu wa ta'ala here has talked about this. And to be a good Muslim, you must avoid this, my dear brothers and sisters. It's important. You must avoid this. And a lot of times we have Muslims today, they don't, here it is, I wrote it in English here. The Muslim refrains from the first 3 ayahs in Surah 24, the Nur, the light. My brothers and sisters, if we can do these things here, and we can avoid this situation here, then you won't have this problem. But of course, today we have this problem because people are not, they're violating this. And Surah 24, subhanahu wa ta'ala says, a surah which has been sent down, which have ordained. In it we have sent down clear signs in order that ye may receive admission. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I've given you things. I've given you clear signs to send you on your way. And yet, he comes down to the second one to show you that we're violating this admission. We're ignoring it. The second one is very troubling, that subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and yet we have this so prevalent today. The second ayah, he says, the woman and man guilty of adultery or fornication, flog each of them with 100 stripes. Let not compassion move you in their case, and a matter prescribed by Allah. If ye believe in Allah and the last day, let a party of believers witness their punishment. Our brothers and sisters, if we lived in a Sharia state, if we have people guilty of this particular crime, and I don't know if you know about the rules in this. I don't want to get to this today because it's part of the Sharia, because we're talking about to be a Muslim. But we have certain rules about what happens when you have adultery. You have a married man, and maybe the girl is not married, or the woman is married, and the man that her boyfriend is married. So we have different rules about this. I won't get into that. But the case is, the subhanahu wa ta'ala said here is that, he's chiding us for this. And we had this happen, and he's giving you some rules on what happens to the Muslims who do this. And then the third one, and then we'll quit at this one. He says, let no man guilty of adultery or fornication marry any but a woman similarly guilty or a unbeliever. This is the punishment of the Muslim. Here, Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, let no man guilty of adultery or fornication marry any but a woman similarly guilty or an unbeliever. The man who's guilty of this now can marry his best. He can only marry a disbelieving woman, or he can marry a woman who is also have been deemed adulterous. And again, the laws in the Sharia, if I have witnessed, say, somebody comes to me and say, hey, your wife, she goes next door here and she be with this man 7 days per week when you go to work. So I come home early, I catch her, and I look in the window, I find her in bed with the man. And can we call that adultery? We cannot, because the rules of adultery, you have to have 4 witnesses, and they must witness the act, not after they finish with it. You go in the window, you look, and you see her coming out of the shower, and you see him half naked. That's not it. You have to see the actual act being perpetrated, and the 4 witnesses must see this in order to them be guilty of this. But there's other minor things. You can go to divorce. I won't get into that as part of Sharia and family law. I won't get into that today. And then he says, not let any but such a man or unbeliever marry such a woman. So the unbelievers can marry this man or woman who's guilty of this. To the believers, such a thing is forbidden. Now, you are a strong Muslim. You cannot marry the woman who's been guilty of this. It's forbidden, my brother and sister. You cannot. So this is what I was talking about. The Muslim must avoid this in order for him to be on path to be a Muslim. He must avoid this situation here. And in today's climate, it's difficult. I know that. I'm a man. You see it on TV. The women are half naked. And they put the most beautiful girls on TV. And today, the women are undressing. And you see beautiful girls walking, perfume, their bodies swaying left and right, and so forth and so on. It's very difficult. And the devil is working his way, making the man go after the woman. And he's working the woman by telling her. And many times you ask the woman, well, you know what? I don't understand here. Zainab, why are you walking the street half naked? They can't even give you an answer to it. It's like they walked out of the house. They're in a trance. You see them, and they have a lot of perfume, and they have slant clothes. You can see their hair, and you can see, their outframe of their private parts, and also their breasts, and so forth and so on. And they don't even know why they do it. This is again where I talked about last. Remember, the waswas of shaitan. It's in their heart. So we must be very careful of this. And let me give you one more, and I will stop at this. This is one that I talked about last week that the brothers have to avoid. We have brothers today that do this a lot. The woman does not want to marry with them. So they figure, you know what? I'm going to make sure she don't marry this other man I heard that she may want to marry. So he goes out to slander. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you are a believer, you can get in trouble for this. Number 4, this is Surah 24. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, verse 4, and those who launch a charge against chaste women and produce not 4 witnesses to support their allegation, flog them with 80 stripes and reject their evidence ever after. For such men are wicked transgressors. Men, we have to be very careful here. We get hurt, and the first thing we do, we go out in the public and we start to denounce this woman when she didn't do the things that we said. Here, if we lived in a Sharia state and persons heard this, me slandering Zainab, when I said, you know what, she didn't want to marry me. They don't know the facts of the case, but I go out to tell everybody, Zainab, oh man, she's no good. I don't know why any man want to marry with her. I saw her with Muhammad over there behind a tree, and so forth and so on, making up these lies. You get caught for this, you get 80 stripes. So we got to avoid this, my brothers and sisters, at all costs. So those things that you have to avoid. Now I'm going to get into something else here, which is important. To be a Muslim, the Muslim is a brother to every Muslim. We have problems in this area today as well. We have racism creeping in. A Muslim is a brother to every Muslim. The biggest the most Muslims in the European not Union, but in Europe today is where? Is it England? Is it France? Is it Germany? It's Russia. Russia holds more Muslims in Europe than any other place. And you have many Russians, and you know they're cold white in color, okay? They're your brother. You got the brothers from the Congo and other places like this who are cold black in color. They had the Shahadatain, they're practicing Muslims, they're your brother. Our prophet said, Muslim, aku Muslim, I wrote in Arabic. Because this is important. To be a Muslim, you must believe that you must treat your brother with disrespect. You must give him this. And if you don't do such a thing, then you ask questions about you being Muslim. Now, we're not talking about the hypocrites. We're not talking about those who join forces with the disbelievers and all that. We're not talking about them today. But we're talking about this particular access. Now, to further go into this about your brother, what you do and what you don't do, we have this here next to it. The Muslim doesn't give his brother to his enemy. This is important. We have this going on since 9/11. The Muslims today, as you heard me talk about one guy in New Jersey who's prevalent for this, and it's one of these imams. I'm not going to mention his name here, but he's given, if the guy he feels is quote unquote Wahhabi or Salafi, he turns him into the police. That's ridda. You're trying to take this brother's Islam by turning him over to disbelievers for the disbelievers to put him in jail when in fact he didn't do anything wrong. Just because you disagree with him on his Aqidah, on his faith, you say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna get this man. I don't like these people who follow the Sheikh Wahhab, Rahimahullah. So I'm gonna get him. This is important, brothers and sisters, especially brothers. You don't go and give your brother to the enemy. You just don't. Now, again, we're not talking about situations where you got Muslim criminals and stuff like that who's spraying up the neighborhood and killing kids, and he's a gangster and he's doing drive-bys. You do what you got to do to protect the Muslims. That's a different situation, because this brother here is wayward anywhere for killing Muslims and killing others. That's a different situation. Here, where we're talking about a brother, okay, you have, say, like me and Saeed is, he's a strong Muslim, but he is leaning more towards the Salafiyah and so forth. I said, I don't like that. I don't like that about Saeed. He's, you know what, so, hey, I'm going to make a report to FBI on him. That's what we're talking about. Don't do this, my brothers and sisters. This is a no-no. You want to be a good Muslim? Don't do this. You follow what the Prophet ﷺ in the Hadith. He said, don't turn him over to his enemy. The brother, you cannot do this. He's your brother, Muslim Aku brother. You cannot turn him over like this. It's wrong. Then our Prophet goes on further to say, here, the Muslim does not fight his brother unjustly. You don't fight your brother unjustly. Again, we're not talking situations where you see me, Saeed just walking down the street, all of a sudden he sees me drinking wine. He should come to me and fight me for that. And he conditions me and he chastises me and try to bring me to the straight path. But after a while he can't, then Saeed moves on. But he does not fight unjustly. And this is important, but we have this today. We have weak Muslims who are upset. They are modern Muslims. They see somebody who's very strong, so they begin to fight them. Some of them even join forces with enemies to go against this strong Muslim. This is what we're talking about here, brothers and sisters. You cannot do this. Our Prophet warned us, don't do this. Don't fight your brother in this matter. It's wrong. Because you hurt your brother when you do something like this. And then we don't give our brothers to our enemy. This is very, very difficult. And so I covered this lesson, this aspect, my brothers and sisters. And we have to avoid many things to be Muslims. It's not just okay for us to say, I'm Muslim. We have rules and conditions that we must follow. And we must adhere to that. And I'm going to give you something to show that you must keep this in mind. Because if you don't do this, then you're going to be in trouble in the hereafter. Here, is the nullifiers of Islam. To be a good Muslim, you have to, you heard me talk about this so many times, the 10 nullifiers. I have this here in English, I have it also in Arabic. But English here, this is important, brothers and sisters. If you are a strong Muslim, you must learn these 10 nullifiers and also help you so you don't get trapped up with the hypocrites who are involved in this, who have basically made themselves, cast themselves out of Islam. This is important, my brothers and sisters. If you want to be a good Muslim, you must adhere to this, learn it. Like number one, shirk in the worship of Allah. This is very important. Setting up intermediaries between a person and Allah. This is what the Christians and some of our Hebrew brothers do, and we should not do this as Muslims. You cannot be a good Muslim if you do this. Number three here, believing that the mushrikeen are not disbelievers. Today we have that because why? Some our brothers go and they work among the disbelievers, and then they get to liking them so much that they don't believe them to be disbelievers. And when you call them a disbeliever, they get mad at you and say, hey, you know what? This is not true. He's not a disbeliever. He's actually a good guy. This is what we're talking about here. Number four, the belief that guidance by someone other than the Prophet Muhammad is better than the ruling other than the rule of Muhammad, alayhi salatu wasalam, is better. And we have that today. Those, you think about this. We have people you see today in rallies all over in the Muslim world. You'll hear them talk about democratic and communist ways and means. You don't see them putting signs up that we follow the sunnah of our prophet. No, you see them talking about we want democracy. This is casting them out of the fold of Islam. See, and so this is a condition that you have to be very careful. Number five, hating anything of the prophet's message despite practicing it. We have this problem today where we have people who talk that, yeah, I like this, but in fact, they hate it and they openly hate it. And we have to be very careful of this. Number six, mocking and ridiculing any part of Islam. We don't have that as much, but now and then brothers make mistakes. And some who don't know this, and we're not chiding them, sometimes they make a joke to disbelievers or to other Muslims about things about Islam. And they have to be very careful that they don't, go too much over it. You should avoid making any mockery of anything in Islam. You should stop that. Don't do it. Then number seven, we talked about this. Remember the other day I had a class on this, involvement of sorcery, believing in sorcerers, fortune tellers, astrologers, and so forth. Remember, we have Muslims today who will take you, and they have names for them. I won't get into those names. Who will take you to the cosmos. They'll have you believing. They will have you worried about if Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is moving to the left or if he moves to the right. If he's sleeping or he's not sleeping, does he drink and eat? They'll have you concentrating on that. And they go by the stars, the written stars. They see the stars of this given day. They say this and that and so forth. This one here is a nullifier of your Islam. And number eight, supporting and assisting the mushrikeen against the Muslims. This is what the Muslim who does this. We talked about this today. I talked about this in one of my classes here, where I talked about the waswas. Many scholars believe that those who go to assist the disbelievers actually do this. They are part of that. Number nine, believing that it is permitted for some people to be free of implementing the Sharia. This is very interesting. And revealed laws of Muhammad. We hear women today, in particular, we hear women say there's a separate Sharia. When a woman gets mad, they think that they have a right to use sorcery and even kill and even hurt their husbands or hurt another man. They'll put stuff in his food or something like that to hurt them. And they say, well, I'm exempt because I'm a woman. No, there's no exemptions here, my brothers and sisters. Woman and man must follow this. There's no exemption. And a man as well. He can't go around and say, I belong to different Sharia, so he has the right to go and beat his wife or beat some woman half to death. This is wrong. And you have to be very careful. And the last one here, it says, turning away from Allah's religion and not learning it. We have that problem today where we have Muslims, especially in the West, and even in Muslim states today, they don't want to learn the religion at all. And this is unfortunate, my brothers and sisters. This is very, very unfortunate that they don't want to learn this aspect at all. And this is a sad epitaph, unfortunately, but we have to admit those things. And then lastly, my brothers and sisters, I'm going to put this up here because it's so important. The declaration of faith, all of us should be reciting this often because we do not know when our time will be called up. We should be reciting this a lot. It's not only in prayer that you should recite this, and you recite it at the right time. You follow the sunnah as far as reciting this. But I like to recite this because I feel good when I recite this. I have this feeling inside when I recite, especially when I'm walking. I'm going to the masjid at night. I got to walk a long distance from my house now where I live, and I like to recite this. To not every minute, but I recite this, and I always give the salam to the malaika because the angels are following you, and I always give salam to them, and then I always like to give the shahadatain and stuff like that as I go. And this is important because we are Muslims, and we should always be careful, and we should always have these words in mind, because this is the kalima. Remember we talked about this, the shahadatain. Again, this is still written in Arabic and the English translation. I can't stress this, stronger, that this kalima is so important that we have to maintain it, and we have to love it, and we have to protect it, because this is the only way that we can win as Muslims, and so forth and so on. So, my dear brothers and sisters, I thank those who came today, my brother Isaac and brother Saeed and sister Amina. Thank you for showing up today. And I gave you this quick little lesson about a Muslim, to be a Muslim. And like I said, just be mindful, my brothers and sisters. We all fall short. I don't care, me, everybody. We all fall short. We all make sins. We all do things wrong. But we have the redemption of asking subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us. And that's why we have the salat. And we must learn our deen and learn it correctly. And that's what I will say to you today, is never, ever cast yourself and make yourself to the point where you get in trouble with subhanahu wa ta'ala. You make something wrong, you always ask for forgiveness. And try your best. And always remember that subhanahu wa ta'ala is so forgiving. And to learn his religion the best way in order for you to be a good Muslim, because this is important. And always remember, my brother and sister, to be a Muslim is just not the kalam, it's the actions. The kalam is the words, but to maintain the faith, you must do it with the actions. The shahadatain, you saying that you believe in subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you must show this in your actions. You're saying that you believe that the Prophet ﷺ is the final messenger, you must follow his teachings, his sunnah. If you can't play with this, see, this is what, again, our brothers and sisters are doing today. They're playing with this. They don't want to follow certain things of the Prophet ﷺ. They'll follow certain things what they see in the Quran. But then they turn back around and say, well, I don't like this part of the Quran, but I'll follow the Sunnah because I like this part of it. You can't do that, my brothers and sisters. Everything is, you go for everything. If there's 1,000 things, you have to believe in all the 1,000. You can't pick one or 10, 11 and discard them. You must maintain that. So my brothers and sisters, thank you very much today for showing up. And this is I'm learning still how to do the SteamYard, and hopefully I'll make it better, inshallah ta'ala. And I will leave you today, my brothers and sisters, with some of the beautiful sights of Morocco that I've come to love, because the desert, how much I love the Sahara and so forth and so on. I love the Sahara. It's just beautiful. and our brothers who are there in the Sahara. And we have brothers, in Marrakesh, like these brothers here, Muslims, strong Muslims, and the people here in Morocco are so good. And one of the things I love best is that we come and we meet and we have beautiful meals like this, where we have families. This is a Moroccan family here. They're eating their food. You see how everybody's gathered together to eat the food. These are some of the blessings here in Morocco that we have, and mostly all through the Muslim world. It's just about the same thing, but I love this because this is the way it is. And then we have the beautiful oasis here in Morocco as well. And you see, Morocco is so beautiful. So it's very easy for us to practice the faith because you see Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's work and everything here. You see everything. You see Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, what he's given us. And we should have blessings for this because it's important that we maintain this, because here's outside, matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, it's outside of Fez, where I live in the city. I live in Fez. Here in Fez is a beautiful city, my brothers and sisters, and stuff like this. A very, very beautiful city. And so I will stop at this and because I wanted to show some things of Morocco. Many people don't know too much about Morocco, and they're confused about that because they see me and they see maybe commercials. But I gave you something. I just wanted to give you a few things. I'm going to do some things about Morocco here, inshallah, to help the brothers and sisters who think about coming here. I have a lot of things to guide them to help them. So my brothers and sisters, I will leave you with the beautiful words today of Jannah. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.